Hello, friends. It is Janel with Authentic Retail Results here. Today, we're going to talk about why markdowns should be your best friend and how to do them right. Now, before we can do that, we have to dive into a few principles that are really important to understand. Firstly, the first principle here is profit versus cash. Newsflash, guys, they are not the same thing. So profit is the gross margin on what you have sold, those goods that you've sold. So that means after you pay for your merchandise, the money that you have left over after selling it, that's what your gross margin is. So our vendor doesn't really care if their goods have sold out of our store or not, right? They want to be paid for them anyway. So that's where cash comes in. Cash is the money you actually have in the bank. So let's take a peek at an example here. So we've landed $10,000 of wonderful goods into our store at a 50% margin. So that means that the cost was $5,000 and the potential profit is $5,000. Note how I said potential profit. Profit isn't realized until it's in your bank account. Okay, it doesn't turn into cash until it's in your bank account. So from this $10,000, we've sold 8 grand. Okay, not a bad sell through, depending on the timeline that it took us to sell that $8,000. So $2,000 of that is tied up in unsold inventory. Okay, so we take that $8,000 in sales, subtract $5,000, which is the cost of purchase, and we're left with $3,000 in cash. Okay, so cash is the amount, again, that's actually in our bank account. Now, the other part of this equation is, yeah, we sold through $8,000, but we've got $2,000 left over. So what do we do with that remaining $2,000? Well, we mark it down. And in this example, we've gotten pretty aggressive and we have marked it down to 40% off, which is another $1,200. And lo and behold, it all sold at 40% off, which is great. So our total cash now becomes the $3,000 from the sales of goods minus the cost of purchase. Add in the $1,200 that we acquired from marking goods down. We sold through everything, so the actual cash is $4,200. So as you can see in this example, markdowns free up cash so that you can reinvest in products that sell. So another really important parameter to understand is freshness, okay? The easiest way to make more money is to sell more stuff and sell it more often. That's pretty intuitive. Now, what makes us sell more often? Driving our existing customer into the store. What makes them come into the store? Well, my partner Marty always says, give them the Bonnie rate factor. Let's give them something to talk about, right? So what do we talk about? Fresh goods, fresh stuff, right? The more frequently we have more fresh stuff coming in, the more frequently we're going to have more of our customer coming in. So let's put this into kind of a real world perspective. So imagine this. You're working in your store and a customer comes in. Hey, Sharon, it's great to see you. And she says, oh, it's great to see you too. What's old? No, nobody says what's old. They always say what's new. Right? So our customer wants to see new stuff. And I'll tell you what, the quickest way to drive a retail store into the ground is to stop landing fresh goods. And it can be hard to land fresh goods when our cash is tied up in our merchandise that's not selling, right? So we have to take markdowns in order to maintain that freshness. So the other thing about freshness, you guys, is it's inspiring for everybody that comes in, not just your customer, but it's inspiring for the staff, right? It's fun to re-merchandise, to come up with new displays, make our product look exciting with new stuff that we have to show our customer. The other piece is your marketing team is going to thank you, thank you, thank you, because it is so much easier to come up with reasons to contact our customer when we have fresh goods to show them. Okay, so guys, we only have 2 really mathy slides, so sit tight and let's go through this together. So this is what strategic markdowns can look like. On the right-hand side, we have a client that this was their performance the prior 12 months before working with us at Authentic Retail Results. Then in the first 12 months of working with us, this was the story. So let's look back in time first, in those first 12 months. So you can see here that we sold 47,303 units. Our net net sales were 2.4 million, just about 2.395 million. Our gross profit percent was 39.6. Our turn, which is the number of times we sell through our average inventory in the store, was 1.4 times. And our average, or excuse me, our on-hand inventory value at the end of this time frame was 1.072 million. Okay, so our purchases, or the amount that we invested in order to buy merchandise to sustain these sales, to achieve net sales of 2.395 million, we spent 1.607 million on inventory. Okay, and so our cash margin, or the amount left over, is simply our sales minus our purchases. So that left us with 787,614 left to spend on our other stuff. For example, our operations expenses. So our operations expenses this year came in at 862,299. So when we take our cash margin of 787,614, subtracting that 862,299, their positive cash flow was actually a negative cash flow of about $75,000. Okay. Uh-oh. That's not great. These guys, they were doing okay. They were managing to pay their bills and all that, good stuff. But they thought, hey, you know what? We can do better. Let's call Authentic Retail Results. So after working with them for 12 months, like I said, this was the result. In the first 12 months after partnering with us, they sold 48,602 units with net sales of 2.441486. Okay, so not a significant change in the net sales, to be honest, an increase of 2%. Okay, our gross profit, interestingly, guys, don't stop watching the presentation after I tell you this. So our gross profit went down. Okay, it went down from 39.6 to 37.2. Now, why the heck would a gross profit go down, and why would you be happy about that, Janelle? Well, because we were very targeted and strategic with the markdowns that we took. Okay, we were marking down the slow sellers, the things that our customers were not voting for, the things that we're not selling. And then we were feeding the classes of inventory where our customer was voting that they did want. So our gross profit percentage temporarily went down. Okay, but you'll see why that's okay in this example. Okay, so as we correct the inventory or get it balanced to levels where we're really feeding the classes that are moving quickly, and then we're moving away from the classes that are not, and we're doing so by using, like I said, very strategic markdowns, we will see a positive change in the gross profit percent. All right, the turn went from 1.4 to 1.7. Again, this is the number of times in a year we sell through our average inventory. The interesting piece with the turn is because we were moving away from what wasn't selling and we were using carefully planned markdowns to do so, our turn actually increased. Okay, we made room for the good stuff that our customer was buying. Now, interestingly, a turn of 1.4 means it takes about, well, let's talk about 1.7 first. Well, okay, I'm lying. We're talking about 1.4 first. Sorry about that. A turn of 1.4 means that it's taking us about 8.6 months or 34 weeks to sell through our average inventory. So when you think about how long that is, think about how many times within a lot of our retail verticals we have a fresh season. A lot of the time our vendors will launch a spring collection, they'll launch a fall collection, they'll launch a holiday collection, sometimes they'll also launch a cruise collection, and then we'll have like a fall winter collection. So there's at least 4 seasons within a year for most of our vendors. So in order to, at a turn of 1.4, in order to get through 4 seasons, it's going to take us 3 years at a turn of 1.4 to really see a change of 4 seasons. So a turn of 1.4 is not as quick as I would like to see it. Keep in mind, different product classifications or different types of inventory are going to turn at different rates, okay? And that's acceptable. But anyway, the long story short here is check out after working together for a year. Because we use strategic markdowns, we increased that turn and we increased it by about 6 weeks a year. Like that's a pretty significant, improvement in how quickly we can sell through our average inventory. Okay, so we've taken it from 8.6 months or 34 weeks down to about 7 months or 28 weeks. So we're getting there. There's still work to do, and this client's been working with us for some time now, so we've actually improved that quite a bit. So interestingly also, here's a big piece, the inventory on hand. At the end of the first 12-month period that they were measuring, like, so when we started working together, inventory value was 1.072 million. Okay. And then at the end of the first 12 months working together, we're looking closer to that $760,000 mark. So our inventory value decreased by roughly 30%. That's about $318,000 at cost. That's incredible. Okay, so now let's look at our purchases in these 12 months working together. Our purchases are our cost of purchasing inventory, our cost of goods that we brought in, not the cost of goods sold. Cost of goods that we brought in was 1.299428. Okay, so that's a reduction from 1.6 million the prior year. So we brought in less inventory and sold about the same amount. Our cash margin is the sales minus the cost of our purchases, so 1.142057 million. Okay, now in order to get our cash flow, we reduce that amount or subtract our expenses. So it is net sales minus our purchases minus our expenses. Okay, and that gets us to a positive cash flow of $263,123. Wow. After a year of working together and being very strategic about where we're marking down and where we're flowing in goods with the cash that we have freed up by marking goods down, we have improved the cash flow position of this client between negative 75,000 to upward to increase it to 263. That is an improvement or an increase in cash of $337,808. Let me say that again, $337,808. That's after paying expenses, and that's only with improving sales by 1.9%. Okay, so this is what it can look like when markdowns are done very strategically. And just to reiterate, this gross profit percent, it's only going down temporarily while we're correcting inventory and using those strategic markdowns. As time goes on and as our inventory is balanced, that gross profit percent is going to go up too. But the key here is the difference between profit and cash that we just talked about. We have cash in this retailer's bank account. So what happens when we don't use markdowns? When we hang on to things for too long? Well, it gives a bad perception in the store. I promise you that even if you are the best merchandisers in the world and you take old dusty goods and work them into cool new displays and all that jazz, that's wonderful that you're able to do that. But I promise you that your customers will notice. Now, the other thing is if we're not flowing out these older goods, yet we're still bringing in new goods, it's hard to shop. It gets really full in those stores, and customers will say, I don't like going there because it's too hard to shop. I've heard that with retailers that don't do enough markdowns, that are overbuying. You don't have room. And the other piece with that is less can be more. It's hard to shop racks that are crammed full. Well, our customer's going to miss most of what's on those racks anyway. Okay, so perception is a big thing. It devalues all of the merchandise that's there because it gives us the perception of, just being too stuffed and overcrowded all the time. Think about a display of like Chanel, a Chanel bag. Oftentimes, the company displays those bags in a window, and how many products are in that window? One. It's one bag on a pillar in this giant display. So less can be more. Okay, so we don't want overcrowded stores. Now, margins. When we hang on to things too long, it really cuts into our margins long term. What I mean by that is if we're noticing something is not moving after 4 or 6 weeks, take a smaller markdown at that point. The reason is because later on, in order to move this stuff, it's old, it's dusty, it's 2 seasons old at this point. Our customer really isn't going to want it. So in order to bribe that customer to purchase that item, we're going to have to take a major markdown. We're talking 40, 50, 60 plus percent. Okay. So long term, if we hang on to stuff too long, it erodes our margins. Now, the biggest piece here, everything we do here at Authentic Retail Results, we help our clients get more cash out of their business. So picture this, you're in this wonderful stock room. I love this stock room. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go to the ATM. We're going to take out 100 $1 bills. We're going to come back to our store. We're going to grab any of these empty shoe boxes. We're going to take that $100 and we're going to tuck it into this shoebox. You tape that shoebox up and you go into the back corner of your back room on the very top shelf and you tuck this shoebox up there. Now, you set a reminder on your phone for 1 year from today. So we go off, we sell a bunch of things, we go on a couple vacations, and we have a wonderful year. And we come back, and because our phone reminder has gone off, we blow off this shoebox from the corner, we come down from our ladder, we open it up, and we take that $100 out. Well, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take 40 bucks, we're going to throw it in the trash can. Why are we doing that? Well, because that shoebox has been sitting there for a year. It owes you rent. So that $40 is the rent that shoebox has been needing to pay you. So now you've got 60 bucks left. Well, cool, I have $60 here. Well, you invested into that shoebox a year ago, $100. So out of your $100 investment, you have 60 bucks left a year later. That's not that great of an investment, is it? So what could we have done instead? Well, maybe after 3 months, we could have noticed that that shoebox wasn't selling, or maybe we could have set our timer for 3 months. And then the rent that it would owe us would not have been the 40 bucks. It would have only owed us 10. So we could now take that $100 investment and it would be $90. And you know what we could do is we could take that $90 and invest it in another shoebox that's actually going to turn a lot faster, right? And not only is it going to turn faster, we're going to get full margin for it. So when you hang on to things too long, you're literally tying up your cash in shoe boxes if you sell shoes, or you might be tucking it in the pocket of a pair of jeans in your store. But when you don't move through merchandise and when we hang on to it too long, we are tying up cash in our business. All right. So how to avoid tying up cash? Markdowns. This is what we're all here to talk about. Okay, so the key questions in markdowns. Key question number 1, who the heck are we selling to? I am a stickler for this. If you've been hanging out with us for a while, you'll understand that so often I ask, begin with the end in mind. Who is buying this? Who are we selling to? So this is the product adoption curve. As you can see here, this is simply an outlay of groups of consumers and how we behave. Okay, so we have 5 different segments here. We have the innovators in the front left. These are the people that need to get the newest iPhone the day before it's released and they don't care what price it is. Okay, that's who the innovators are. The early adopters, those are people that want what they want. Okay, they don't really care how much it costs, but they do research and looking into trends, and they really want, whatever their desires are, they're just going to go get it. They don't worry about how much it costs. You can see that that's a little bit more of a percentage of the population than the innovators. Now, the biggest chunks of the population here in the green, we've got the early majority. Okay, so the early majority, that's going to be probably the vast majority of your customers. They're kind of an average person. They're going to come in for the new stuff. These are the people that are going to come in when you tell them we've got fresh stuff. And they might pick up the odd sale item as an add-on while they're there. The late majority is shown in purple. And the late majority, these are the folks that are gonna, when you send out an email saying you're having an event or a promo event, a clearance event, they're gonna be lined up at your door. Okay, they're gonna be the first to come to our sale events. So these people are definitely our markdown customers, okay? And then the last chunk here we see in the orange, this is our laggards. This is an interesting customer group because they are very much our markdown customer. They want things easy, they want them fast, and they want them cheap. Okay, they care more about price than they do about anything else. Okay, if it's a funny fit or a weird color or made out of a fabric that feels like a parachute and is actually flammable, that's not that big of a deal to them. They'll wear it anyway because it was cheap. Okay, so bonus points, by the way, for our laggards if they don't have to talk to a person in order to acquire these goods. Okay, so they're the people that are going to come into your store and, sift through the sale racks and just with their heads down, and they're not really going to engage with you. This is really important because we need to know who we are speaking to when it comes to all things markdowns. Now, one thing to note is with the product adoption curve, just because I am, say, an early adopter when it comes to fashion, um, when it comes to like electronics and cars, I'm a laggard. I don't care about those things. Uh, so so just because you are in one particular grouping of the product adoption curve for one product type doesn't mean that that's your shopping preferences and habits for all of the shopping, excuse me, all of the product types. All of the product types on the product adoption curve. You can be different categories of product adopters depending on the product. That was not clear the way I said that. I'm going to try it one more time. So you can be an early adopter for fashion, yet a laggard for cars. So you do not necessarily fall under the early adopters for every product category. Sorry, guys, that was really unclear, difficult. It was challenging for me. But the whole point here to understand is that whenever, it doesn't matter what product we are selling, when we're selling sale stuff, it's going to be that late majority and the laggards. Okay. So who are we selling to? That's key question number one. Key question number two is all about pricing. Okay. So oftentimes I get asked, Janelle, how much should I mark this down to? Or what should I price it at? What we need to ask ourselves, we need to take a long, hard look. And the biggest thing is we cannot look at what we paid for this. We cannot look at cost. The only question that matters is what is the most someone will possibly pay for this? Okay. You price it to move it out. Okay. I know, I get it. It hurts sometimes because sometimes you're selling something for 10 bucks and you know darn well in your mind, oh my gosh, I paid 15 or 20 for that. You can't think that way. Okay. We need to focus on the cash that we are bringing in from that item. And the other thing that we need to focus on is using that space to put something in that's going to turn so quickly and high margin. Okay. So price it at whatever it takes to move. What is the most someone will possibly pay for this? So the next question is, well, what the heck do I mark down and when do I do it? All right, well, let's take a peek at this picture. What have we got here? We have got some great cupcakes with some shoes on them. Those look delicious. We got some water bottles. Back here, we seem to have, a shoe cake, some balloons. This is quite the happening B-Day bash here. And who is the main star? These shoes. We do not want to celebrate birthdays for our merchandise. Okay? We want things to come in, spend a small amount of time in the store, and get the heck out so that we can bring something else amazing in that store, in that space. So always, always, always have a sale rack or a sale table, a sale area, whatever is appropriate for your merchandise. Okay? Now, how do we know what to put on that sale rack? Well, we do something that I call sort and grade. We sort through our merchandise, we give it a grade. Okay, so as we go through our merchandise, we determine, is this really old? Like, are we about to celebrate a birthday for it? Is it dusty? Is it a weird fit? Is it a strange color that's off season? Is a print that just didn't work? Does it have no stretch to it? Is it a weird size? Like, does it say it's a size 38, but it actually fits like a 42? Is that like, no matter what the reason, if we have not sold it, if our customer has voted no, it needs to go on sale. Okay, we need to take markdowns. Now, sometimes that means our really good stuff. Maybe we bought 12 of them and we only have one left, and we've asked our vendor, we can't get more. So maybe that last one needs to go on sale. In that case, I wouldn't market as aggressively, right? The grade would be higher because it's obviously a really, really good item. We sold 11 of the 12. So maybe you only need to go, not that deep as far as discounts go. The other thing that we put on sale is really not great stuff. And that's stuff that maybe we bought 12 and sold one. The customer voted. They don't like it. Even if we believe that it's the most glorious and wonderful thing of all time, we're obviously right and our customer's obviously wrong. But it doesn't matter. We can't fill a store with things we love. We have to fill a store with things that will sell. So cash out of it. Get something that does sell. Now, there are tons of point of sale reports that can help you figure out your average age of your inventory, your return on investment, your turn, all that good stuff, and that can help you make markdown decisions as well. So, moving into this is where I get excited, you guys, the tactics and tools to use in order to do markdowns successfully. So first, we're going to talk a lot about this. Pricing and signage. Do we do percent off or do we do dollar value? Oh, friends, look at how confused this guy is. He doesn't know what's happening. There's dollar signs everywhere. There's percentages everywhere. Look how much math he's doing. He's about to throw his shirt in. He's done with this business. So remember who we are selling to. The people on the back half of that product adoption curve. This is the laggards. This is the late majority. This customer isn't patient. They want it cheap, they want it easy, and they want it fast. We do not want our customers spending their precious time in our store calculating their purchases. We want them finding more stuff to buy. Now, another piece of sort of something to think about with this customer is they are price sensitive. So they could come in with a budget, and that's okay. We can't have a budget that is a percent. So if hi Sharon, great to see you today. What's your budget? Not that we necessarily directly ask that, but we sometimes can. But anyway, that's another video. But they never say, well, my budget today, Janelle, is 20% off. Off of what? What does that even mean, Sharon? So their budget isn't 20% off, or it's not 20%. Their budget is $200 or whatever dollar amount. Okay. So put the amount the customer will end up paying on the item. Okay. Hang tags or cards are best, and they're attached to the individual hanger or the item, etc. We'll get into that in a bit. But there's something that I would like to show you here. Percentages can be so and like sometimes promos can be so confusing to our customer that special shout out here to Helen Thompson, because she has done our society a real solid here. She's done a great thing. She has actually written a book for consumers about retail math. What does it mean to get 20% off? What is the sales tax? What are you talking about there? 70% off. What's a cash rebate? What is buy two, get one free? All of this stuff. Guys, this is so confusing. Sales and clearance events have become so confusing for our customer that Helen had to write a book about it. Please don't make our customer need this book unless you're selling this book in our store. That's the only time I want our customers using this book. Okay. Like I said, special shout out, Helen. Thank you for helping us. So back to tools and tactics, pricing and signage. So this is a lovely sign. I'm going to say that 20% off. It's a great font, probably on brand with something. By the way, this is super random, but it's tiny details like this that matter. Do you see how the sign is hung up? It is using binder clips and perhaps some string. You don't have to be that fancy, guys. Remember who we're selling to. That laggard, that late majority, they don't care about beautiful. They want fast, easy, cheap. Remember that, okay? So we need to talk about store-wide discounts. Danger, danger on store-wide discounts. Okay, the problem with store-wide discounts is, hey, Sharon, come on in, get 20% off the entire store today. You choose what you want. Woohoo! Well, I knew that you just landed these boots, so I'm obviously going to get 20% off of these boots. And what are you unpacking over there? I'll take two at 20% off. Do you think Sharon's going to go to the sale rack where she's already seen stuff? Or do you think Sharon's going to go pick some jeans that have been there for 3 months, or perhaps some skis now that it's summertime? No, she's not. She's going to get the newest dang stuff, Sharon. So what you're going to want to do is be very selective about what you're putting on sale so that Sharon comes in and purchases the stuff that you have on sale. Okay. Sharon's value position, I shouldn't say Sharon's. The sale customer's value proposition here is cheap, easy, fast. Again, she's going to wear a parachute if it's a cheap parachute. So be aware of that. Do not do store-wide discounts. Now, another random thing to note about this, signage is the silent salesperson. Okay, remember how we said this customer really doesn't even want to talk to you that much? I'm all for interacting with them and trying your best to get them out of their shell and showing them additional items. Please do that anyway, even though, it might take them a little while to open up to you versus someone like our early majority or our early adopters. Okay, so it's important to have some signage because, like I said, it's the silent salesperson. And sometimes you're just too darn busy working with other customers in order to come and speak with Sharon when she's shopping away at our sale racks. Okay. So we're talking about store-wide discounts and how those are kind of a big no-no in our minds. What do you do instead? Individually price each item. Wow, Janelle, that sounds like a lot of work. Well, you just wait. We're going to show you some examples um, of why you do it anyway. So these hang tags, you can order these from Amazon. It's probably, $9 or so for about 500 of them. They've got a little hole here and a hole punch and a slit so they can go right over top of the hook on the hanger. Now, the other thing with these is you could just tape them onto a shoebox. You could tape them onto a mug if that's what you're selling. It doesn't matter. Just make it work for your customer and use dollar values. The other thing with these is you can reuse them until they look shabby, right? So if an item, you've got a sale item here for $49 in this case, well, when you're selling the item, take it off the hanger or, peel this off of the box so that you can reuse this tag. Again, if they're starting to look shabby, then perhaps recycle them, but outside of that, you can reuse them. The other thing with these is they're very attention grabbing. It makes it very clear what stuff is on sale. Okay. And again, it's so clear for that customer, cheap, easy, fast, right? They approach the sale rack. Hey, anything with a red tag, clearly it's on sale because it says sale. And I know how much it costs. It's $49. So it makes it easy for them and fast and obviously cheap. Or cheaper, I should say. So the other piece with this is there's some of these sale tags that you can get that have, regular price, $149, on sale now for $49. For me, I just like this $49 business because again, Sharon's going to come in and she's going to be like, great, $49 carrying on. Makes it easier for you as well. If you want to do the regular retail price of $149 and now $49, go right ahead. I mean, again, the customer's going to have to look at that tag and do math to figure out that she's saving $100. But this is good enough. Now, I understand that with this, permanent markdowns are not necessary. Right? We don't have to, and what I mean by permanent markdowns is going into your point of sale system and marking items down, the price, changing the pricing in there. It's not absolutely necessary with these tags. Now, some of the pushback that I get, however, is, well, what if a customer switches the price tag in the fitting room or something happens where two prices get mixed up? Number one, you know your merchandise, and so this is probably going to happen less than you actually are, than you think. Okay. Now, the other piece of it, if it does happen, think big picture. If we accidentally mix up a $40 tag and put it on a $60 item, then the opposite is also true, right? We could mix up a $60 item and accidentally put it on a $40 item. Now, the big picture here is don't worry about that. Just look at your bank account 2 days after you're having one of these markdown events, and you're going to be happy because you're going to have a lot of cash in your bank account. So you're not going to worry about that accidental switch of the $20 on the price tags. All right. So talking about what number should we put on these price tags? So there's a couple of sort of psychological ways to price things, and two that work really well for sale items are charm pricing and odd even pricing. These things are just relevant to talk about. So charm pricing, these are prices that end in the number 9. Now, we have a left digit bias in our society. And what that means is we see the number on the far left and then kind of ignore the ones thereafter. It's very interesting. What I'm about to say is not an insult at all. It is simply a fact. Okay. And it's okay. And it's great to know because then you can market to your customer better. So, interestingly, men typically don't look past the first numeral. Interesting. So Think about it this way. If you've gone to Best Buy with a man and there's a TV with a price tag 1999, he'll look at it and he could very well say, wow, that TV's $1,000. He just missed the 999, which is also almost $1,000. Technically, that TV is $1 away from being $2,000 and $999 away from being $1,000. So it's simply the way our minds are built, and it's just a bias. It's not right, it's not wrong. But as retailers, once we understand how our customer thinks, we can do a better job of pricing for them. Interestingly, charm pricing that ends in a nine, or that use sort of this left digit bias, it outsells whole pricing. So if we were to say 599 versus 600, it outsells whole pricing by 24%. So this is a very valuable thing. Firstly, we could look at this and say, wow, I don't want to reduce my prices by $1. Well, you're not necessarily reducing them by $1, but when we're pricing goods, that can actually result in a huge increase in revenue. So do consider using that charm pricing. Now, another interesting piece here is charm pricing can also qualify as adding 99 cents to the price of an item. So $24.99, $199.99. Those are great prices because it's below a certain sort of threshold of $200 or $25. Now, the interesting thing is a lot of retailers would just go $24 or $99, which is okay. A thought is if you sell 100,000 items in a year and you add 99 cents to the price of each of those items without doing anything else differently, that's an increase of $99,000 in revenue in a year. So, food for thought, you might want to consider adding 99 cents. Now, there is also the consideration that sometimes the perception of seeing 99 cents adds cheapness. I respect that. That could be the case. So, a lot of times, a lot of retailers use 99 cents on sale items only. So food for thought there. Now, the other type of pricing that's relevant for us to talk about today is odd and even pricing. So odd prices end in odd numbers, 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. They're often associated with a deal. Like I just said, 99 cents ends in a 9. Even prices ending in 2, 4, 6, 8, and 0 are often perceived to have premium associated with them. Interesting. So odd, even pricing, depending on how you use it, could help to create a perception of a customer purchasing a luxury product or getting a super hot deal. So food for thought and when we are pricing. Okay, now we get into the fun stuff. Let's talk about some pricing and signage examples. Here we go. Okay, so this particular retailer is getting better because the math is done for us. Okay, so we've got the $10 is now 5, the $20, or excuse me, the 12 is now 6, and so on and so forth. But this is only on the blue ticket items, according to this sign. Okay, so what I have to do as a consumer is I can't just sort through this rack and see what I like. I'm as the customer on the back half of that product adoption curve, as the laggard or the late adopters, the late majority, I am going to be looking for cheap stuff. So what's more important to me is the price than how beautiful it is or how trendy it is. So I'm literally going to be looking through this rack. I'm not looking at the garment. I'm looking for the blue tags. Now, I don't know where they are, which is another thing. It's not obvious to me as a sales shopper. Again, it needs to be fast, easy, and cheap. You need to have these dang blue tags over top of these hangers so that me as a sale customer can differentiate, okay, well, what am I choosing from here? All right, so I've gone through, I've found some blue tag ticket items. I'm not even sure if it's a skirt or pants. I don't care because it's something that I can put on my body and it's cheap. This is what I like as a sale customer, right? So now I have to sort through this and then I have to refer to the chart. Okay, so this is $18, so now it's 9. How long did that entire exercise take me as a customer? Here's the other piece of this. If you're sorting through your merchandise as a retailer to put a blue ticket on items, why didn't you just put a hang tag over the hanger instead of blue ticket? Seems just as easy to me. And then it's easier for our customer in the end. And then the more that they can collect in their arms because they've been in our store enjoying for a longer time, rather than doing math, they are going to buy more. Our customer isn't coming into our store to do math, right? People don't even want to go to school to do math, generally speaking. So why would they want to come to our store to do it? Okay, here's another example. This is a very interesting sign. Clearance. Okay, take an additional percent off the lowest sticker price. You already know how I feel about percentages. How much? See the color guide below. Oh, so I basically need a map to shop in this store. Now, one thing that's very interesting, you may not have noticed, but the last three slides, when I was showing examples of the colors of the signs, they were all red. Interestingly, psychologically, human beings, we associate the color red with a good deal. And you know what? We associate the color yellow with a smoking hot deal. And it's very interesting that this retailer has bookended the sale percentages with the good deal in red and then the smoking hot deal in yellow. So very interesting there. So what's really interesting about this is, okay, so I need a map, a color-coded map. Hopefully I'm not colorblind, in order to shop this sale. But in addition to that, quietly at the bottom here, additional reductions taken at register. So I get a mystery bonus discount too? As a sales shopper, I want to know how much I'm going to pay for this. I have my budget. So just tell me how much it costs, please. Now, the other piece about this is you think this is easier for your staff because it's like, well, we don't have to put a price tag on everything. Yes, you do. You have to put a red or a blue or a green or a purple or a yellow sticker on something. So again, why wouldn't you just put a price tag on it? Keep it simple, guys. Keep it simple. All right. So now here is a fantastic sign. I love this sign. Guys, signage doesn't have to be professionally designed by graphic designers and laminated and, sent to your store from Vistaprint. You can print it out in your printer in your back room or at home, right? This is a great sign. It's clear, it's inviting, it's fun, and it tells me exactly how much these dresses are going to cost. If I get a dress from this rack, it's going to be 75 bucks. And my hope is a special shout out to Mallory's, by the way, where health meets fashion, a lovely boutique in British Columbia, Canada. I hope that at Mallory's, they have also put some kind of a price tag over top of the hanger here. That would be like 100% grades on this. But fantastic signage here. Crazy dress sale, $75, not percent. And then back here, this is also a crazy dress sale. A little less crazy, pink writing at $50, but I'm loving this. Love, love, love this. So great job at Mallory's. This is another sign that I'm loving. Special, $30. Why pay more? Well, you know what? As a consumer on the back end of the product curve, I am with you. That is just good sense. Why pay more? Good question. Now, what I would love to see is, could these shoes be a little bit more straight? Absolutely. And I choose to believe that on the bottom of this shoe, there's also a price tag saying $30. So really good job with that one. Now, as we have talked about, that consumer on the front half of the product adoption curve, they don't want goods once they start seeing them on the majority of people out there. They want exclusive, they want to be first. So once things start trickling out to the general population, they don't really want them anymore. So a sale sign can actually turn them off a little bit, and we don't want to do that. So what can you do? Well, this retailer here, which could be Walmart, but anyway, they have quietly and softly whispered, clearance on this rack with other merchandise. So the signage doesn't have to be huge and obnoxious, right? The customers who are looking for the sale rack, Sharon, she's going to find the sale rack, right? And those customers who are at the front of the product adoption curve, they're not going to be bothered by it and they won't be turned off. So here's another one that's great. I love this example. It's so cute and it's on brand. Sale. Just a happy little sale rack there. In this case, because the sale sign is pretty little, this is a great talking point to everyone who comes into the store. Hi, Sharon, welcome. Thanks for popping in today. Have a little conversation about the weather. Okay, what brings you in? Oh, I'm just looking. Okay, great. Thanks, Sharon. Well, you know what? Don't miss that sale rack. It's right over here, and walk to the sale rack. Don't point at it. Walk to the sale rack. All of these wonderful items right here are on sale. On sale. I'll be back to check on you shortly. So the other cool thing about a little sale rack like this is another psychological tip. Rather than using the word sale, you can use you instead of the sign thing sale, it could say best sellers. And your best sellers can have sale tags on them. That's fine. But the cool thing about best sellers is realistically, our best sellers, we're only going to have one or two left. Well, how many of each are on the sale rack? Generally speaking, or a sale table. Generally speaking, only one or two units of each style. So, best sellers, that's another option too. This is one of the most intelligent racks I have ever seen and signs that I've ever seen. So this retailer it's a retailer with an elevated price point, kind of a higher end customer is who they're marketing to. So they don't want to subconsciously turn off the early adopters by showing them, oh, well, we also cater to people on the back half of the curve. Like we don't discriminate, which is great. So the interesting thing is, anyone who's kind of the mid-curve shopper, well, he or she wants to shop at this store too. And so what this sign says is it's just an exclamation point in red. Again, remember the psychological meaning behind red, but it's this exclamation point that's like attention, attention, like, hey, what's happening here? So this tells that mid-curve customer, well, I like a deal. Here's the rack for me, so she can subtly shop. They can subtly shop this area, this rack. Still be a cool cat who shops at this store, but it's getting a better deal for it. And then the other cool thing about this is the, front of the product adoption curve people, they're not going to really be attracted to this rack as much because they're thinking, well, it's not as important to me, so that's fine. I'll carry on. Now, one other thing is with signage, I should say. Signage, you cannot argue with Walmart. You cannot argue with a yellow clearance sign. Like, no matter what language you're speaking here, which I believe this is French, maybe Spanish, I'm not 100% sure, but no matter what language you're speaking, we all know there is a deal happening under this yellow balloon. Okay, so yellow is definitely like an uber mega clearance. And you know what? It's cute and fun with the balloon, so don't hesitate to do that. Now, we're rolling into a slightly different section is merchandising, but it still has to do with pricing. One of the most important tools that you can use with markdowns is merchandising. Now, I call this the $20 rack. I think this was Nordstrom. What a rack. They call that's what these little signs say, and I think it's great. So a $20 rack or table, this is a rack that's typically by the till. It's kind of used as a shock and awe campaign. Okay, so the prices on this are so low that it makes your customer go, what? And they like immediately throw it while they're purchasing, or like, you're folding up their purchases or collecting their purchases, gathering them. They're like, what the heck is this? I'm buying it, right? Often they pick it up without even trying it on, right? Usually this stuff is like, hey, it's ultra final sale. Even if you warn them, it's like, you can't bring this back. You better try it on. No, it's good. Like the price has to be so low that they will just buy it without even thinking. Okay. Now, the interesting thing with this is it can be used really, really well as an add-on for the mid-curve customer. Okay. So our majority will really like using this as an add-on. Our laggards, or the folks at the very, very smallest right-hand side of that product adoption curve, they are going to clear out your rack and they might, replace their entire wardrobe or, all of their dishes in their kitchen or whatever, depending on what you sell. From this area. They will clean you out. Now, another important piece of information, something to note about this is figure out what that price point is, the shock and awe price point that makes people go, like I said, what? I'm buying this. In some stores, that price could be $9. In other stores, I've seen it at $99, right? So just figure out what makes sense for your customer and go with that. Okay, so now when we're talking about, this was kind of sort and grade, sort through your merchandise, give it a grade. If it's a higher grade, the price can be higher. If it's a lower grade, the price needs to be lower. We need to be shocking and awing our customer with mega markdowns. Now, what if it's a bigger event like an end of season clearance? The best advice I can give you is size your racks. Okay, what I mean by that is reorganize, size your merchandise, I should say. I always say racks because I default to clothing, but in my mind, I'm also thinking about, um, sized merchandise for footwear, etc. So thank you for bearing with me. So size your stuff, size your merchandise. Um, what that means is have a rack or a table of a certain size. So, for example, maybe in your store as a size small would fit size 0 to 6. And so put some signage up there that says that. Maybe a size 8 in your store is a medium. So put signage on a rack that's just got size 8 stuff on it. Maybe in your store, a size medium is a size 6 or size 4 or something. That's fine as long as you're consistent with the sizing and with the signage. Now, the other piece about this is put merchandise in that area that fits like the sign above it. For example, if you have a size 36 shoe, but it fits like a 40, put that on the size 40 rack, not on the size 30 rack. And consider scribbling out the size 36 and replacing it with a 40. Okay, so replenish the areas or group the merchandise on how they fit, not what they're called. Okay, now keep in mind why we're doing this. Remember who we're selling to, right? The people on the back half of that product adoption curve, Sharon, she really likes stuff fast, easy, and cheap. And if she doesn't have to talk to you, even better, right? So when she comes into the store and sees all of these racks that are labeled, it's still valuable to tell her, "Hi, Sharon, welcome. Thanks for joining us for our end of season clearance event. Just to let you know, we've grouped all of our stuff to make it so easy for you. So if you typically wear a size 10, I would direct you in the direction of the rack there that says size 10. And I'll tell you what, Sharon will be zipping by you so fast to get to that rack that you won't even know what hit you." So even though we're rearranging the sizing in the store and creating racks and groupings or racks and tables, groupings of sizes, it doesn't mean the store has to look like a hurricane came through it. To be totally honest, it often kind of does a little bit, but that's just because you have so many people coming through the store. Continue replenishing the racks and the displays and the tables. Always be tidying, obviously, and do your best. So this is a fantastic example of a retailer who has a beautiful sale display, right? We've got our mannequin and our sale t-shirt. We have huge sale signs. We haven't used red and yellow here, which is interesting. That doesn't surprise me one bit because this is, again, that elevated sort of a retailer and an elevated customer, probably usually closer to the beginning of the left-hand side of the product adoption curve. So they really want to make this still look like an elevated, classy shopping experience. But it's really that we're talking to the people on the right-hand side of the product curve who really they think that they are the people on the left, but they're really not. And that's okay. Let them be who they are. Now, I would just like to acknowledge how wonderful this display is and how the signage is. And then there's just one tiny little thing. Flash sale, 40% off all emu. Darn it. What that sign should have said is save up to $40 off of every pair of emu rather than the percent. But outside of that, this is an exceptionally wonderful display. Okay. So let's talk about some creative strategies with markdowns. One of the most effective ones can be BOGO. What the heck does BOGO mean? Buy one, get one. UrbanDictionary.com will tell you that. So BOGO, buy one, get one. It's interesting because typically we have buy one, get one free. That's where our minds go as retailers. But here's the interesting thing. Buy one, get one free is not as effective as buy one, get one $1. Buy one, get one $1. Why is buy one, get one $1 more effective? It is because as human beings, when we see something that's free, that means it has no value. Oh, but I paid $1 for this. Ergo, it has value. It's a different way of thinking. I have a client who had a $99 dress sale. The way it worked is you choose a $99 dress from this rack, so you buy one, then you get to choose another dress from this rack for $1. Buy one at 99, get one for $1. Sold a ton of dresses off that rack. And apparently a couple of weeks later, one of the customers that had shopped that rack came back in wearing one of her dresses that she got on that rack. She was so excited. She came in saying, "Well, it's a little tight and the fabric's kind of weird. The color's not this season, but this is my $1 dress." She was so excited. Again, fast, easy, cheap, right? Those are the things that matter. It didn't really fit. The color was kind of weird and the fabric was uncomfortable, but it was $1. Now, the funny thing is, when she told me this story, in my mind, all I could think is, wait a second. So this lady bought one dress at $99. Then she bought a second dress at $1. So you combine those, and she got two dresses for $100. So wouldn't that be $50 per dress? That doesn't matter. The actual math does not matter. This customer has a $1 dress. Why does she have a $1 dress? Because the marketing was great, because it was merchandised well, because there were individual price tags on these dresses, and there was tons of selection. So she could choose two dresses, and by golly, she got her $1 dress and was very happy about it, which matters. That's all that matters. Now, interestingly, buy one, get one free doesn't work that great. Buy one, get one $1 will work better for you. Here's what's really queer, really, really odd about this stuff is buy two, get one free does work. Buy two, get one free does work. What the heck? Why is that, Janelle? Well, it's almost like the mindset of the customers. Well, I have paid for two items, therefore, that's enough. I qualify for a free item now that I've spent, enough on two. So thank you for my complimentary item. So it's just kind of an interesting mindset. It's just buy two, get one free is so good that the customer just doesn't care about it. So it doesn't care about the sort of psychology behind it. So buy one, get one free is okay, but doesn't work that great. Buy one, get one $1, true win. Buy two, get one free, also acceptable. Now, the biggest thing with BOGO is have lots and lots and lots of selection. Okay, make it uber clear what we have on sale. This retailer did an absolutely awesome job about individually tagging each item. See that? How we have a red BOGO tag on every item. Now we've got BOGO signage as well. Not every customer, by the way, is going to know what BOGO means. So you may have to, in fact, it's always good to explain to people, Sharon, welcome in. Hey, we've got a BOGO happening upstairs in all of our hiking boots, and we've got tons of selection on some of our winter mitts and such. These are made in Canada. Go check them out. There you go. And Sharon's hopping upstairs, right? So have lots and lots of selection. Now, another thing with this is sometimes what'll happen is you'll get two people coming in at once, and one finds an amazing pair of hiking boots and the other, and that's all that they can find on the BOGO that works for them. Well, their friend might find a great pair of dress shoes that works for them. I always suggest let those two people combine the purchases, right? Who cares if one person is paying or if it's two separate people that are paying for this? You are ultimately going to be the winner because you're getting rid of two pairs of shoes. Now, the risk if you don't allow this is if those two customers came in and they both found something that they wanted, if you don't allow them to combine those, chances are they're just going to walk out and you're still going to be stuck with two pairs of shoes. So my suggestion is let the customers combine their BOGO if they can only find one item. Okay. So another fantastic creative strategy is mystery bags. Now, mystery bags are almost like you've tried a light markdown, you've tried a more aggressive markdown, you've tried the $20 rack. You've tried the $20 rack on BOGO and this stuff still isn't moving. It's okay. Now it's time to put it into a mystery bag. So a mystery bag really, or box or whatever, is just a container that has a bunch of stuff in it that's not selling in your store. Or it also has stuff that you bought specifically for the mystery bag that has crazy high margins. Okay. So the key with mystery bags is that the value has to be way higher than the retail price point. So for example, like 4 or 5 times retail. So if these mystery bags, for example, are $10, their retail value has to be $40 or $50 or more. Okay. So the other thing is you can play with different price points. I have seen $9 mystery bags, $69, $99, $199, all of it, right? Play with your price points, see what works for your customer. You can try with different types of products too, right? You can have accessories only bundles. Maybe you put some jewelry, necklaces, and a water bottle in there. You can absolutely have sized items in there. Just make it very, very clear on the outside of the bag that it's like all of these items would fit a size 8. I prefer to try putting merchandise in there that's like, would span a couple of sizes. So maybe it would, work for a size 8, 10 kind of thing. But a lot of the time, what you're working with at the end of a mystery bag, beggars can't be choosers. If you're getting $50 worth of stuff for 10 bucks, you're just gonna get a pair of jeans that is a little more snug, just like the gal in her $1 dress. So put the size on the outside. Now, the other thing I suggest is putting the regular retail price on the outside, right? Say mystery bag, only $10 and regular retail price over $50. That makes it more exciting, okay, for the mystery bags. Um, now, the other piece of this that's kind of cool is I would always recommend adding a bounce back voucher inside of this. So what is a bounce back voucher? That is a voucher that you can print off in store. Again, it doesn't have to be fancy. And it says, save $25 on your next purchase of $100 or more, December 1st to 30th, 2025. Right? So that gives your customer a reason to come back in. And by the way, if you're giving them a voucher that for $25 at retail, you can certainly say on there, valid on regular price merchandise only. The other thing is with that $25 voucher, if they're using it on regular price merchandise, the most that would have cost you is about $12.50. So it's a really great tool to drive traffic back into the store. Now, and someday I'm going to do another video on the limitations, having limitations on vouchers. This is why I call it a voucher. It's different than a gift card. Gift card, you cannot have those limitations on. Voucher, you can make up the rules. Now, truth be told, the fewer rules, the more prone someone is to go ahead and use that voucher. But anyway, like I said, that's another video. We're talking mystery bags right now. Okay, so rather than pricing the mystery bags individually, for example, okay, well, this bag contains 5 items that are size large and they amount to, $237.29 at retail. Now only $40. No, just collect a bunch of items that are approximately a similar price point that range between, $250 to $400 and slap a $50 price tag on it and just go, right? This is much like we discussed earlier when we were talking about potentially accidentally switching sale tags around. Think big picture. This stuff really doesn't have a lot of value because it's probably been in your store for a really long time. So if you can just get rid of it, that is the win. So even if one bag is $400 worth of stuff and the other bag is $250 worth of stuff, you're getting rid of $650 worth of stuff and collecting $100 for it. So that is a win. Interestingly, mystery bags can be used. All markdowns can be used as an add-on to a transaction, but mystery bags are particularly good for an add-on when they're under $20. So that's really fun. Now, when not used as an add-on, when used to drive traffic, this is typically going to be the back half of the product adoption curve. So what do they want? Fast, easy, cheap. They do not want the most beautiful thing. I shouldn't say they don't want that. That's not as important to them as fast, easy, and cheap. So you can go down to your local dollar store and you can get craft paper lunch bags and you can stick some merchandise in there and you can write on that with a Sharpie, mystery bag, $50, regular retail price, 250 to 500, size large. That is totally acceptable. Okay. So, mystery bags. Oh, and by the way, if you do what works for your brand, right? Maybe it's an adorable pink bag like this one. Maybe it's a craft paper bag. Maybe it's a box. Maybe it's a gift bag that's done up, with a bunch of ribbon and beautiful stuff. Whatever works for your brand, that's what you need to package it in. So another creative markdown strategy, this is so important, guys. Have fun. Have fun with it. Make up a great reason to have an event, a promo event. For example, here at Donna Custom Snowboards, the boss is away again. Oh my goodness gracious. He's gone with his wonderful beagle and other dog. He's obviously camping or hiking and he's having a great time. So at the store, we're having a sale. But whatever you do, don't tell Sean. Deal's so good, we can't tell Sean. I love that. I think that's just hilarious. So it's really funny too, guys, is if you have a bosses away promo, how many of your customers are actually going to come in like legitimately believing that the boss doesn't know about this? Hilarious. Anyway, regardless, that's a super fun reason to have a markdown event. But other great things that I've seen, a Hawaiian luau. A client just got, tired of the snow and tired of the winter. So in February, they just held a Hawaiian luau in their store. It's not that hard. All they did was put on Hawaiian music from Spotify, got some grass skirts and Hawaiian leis from their local dollar store. The staff were wearing the leis, and of course, when you get them from the dollar store, they're like, essentially made out of a garbage bag. With that's like looks like straw. Um, and then put leis on all the mannequins and served Hawaiian punch. What was the investment there? Like $40. But then, drove traffic because we're having a luau, come party with us and save some big bucks, Hawaiian style, whatever that means. Anyway, so yeah, have a big party for any reason. Store anniversary is great. The owner's birthday, that's a lot of fun. Seasonal changes. Winter is over. Winter is coming. Special shout out to Game of Thrones fans. Might really get that. Have a Game of Thrones promo. I had a client who had an Ides of March sale in her knitting store, and the email was genius because we had a sale on everything sharp in the store. So her email was feeling stabby question mark. And then she talked about this Ides of March sale that was happening in the middle of March. So whatever you do, have fun with it. Now it also has to work for your customer, right? So something that's a little bit kitschy and tongue in cheek, like that Julius Caesar promo, you can't do that with every customer or with every audience. So do be careful with that and be respectful of that. But yeah, like I said, seasonal changes are great. I had a client that had a wish for winter sale. So the colder the temperature yesterday, the higher the discount today. So that drove so much traffic to the store. And then, something like the summer is coming. Let's have a big party for that. Seasonal events, Valentine's Day, President's Day, Labor Day, anything, any reason that you can have a great time and a markdown event, give your customer a reason to come in. So, in summary, guys, as you've seen here, markdowns can be used, they should be used as a strategic tool, not as a last resort. Markdowns can be used to keep your inventory healthy and keep your cash healthy. So now that you have done all of this work, taking markdowns and getting your inventory in great shape, don't dig back into that hole. Talk to us here at Authentic Retail Results. It's not always that you bought bad stuff. You just bought more than you could sell. And we're going to help you to buy smarter with professionally developed data that looks at your business and data from the industry. So we'll help you avoid overbuying and we'll help you buy more of the good stuff so you don't have to take as many markdowns and so that you can get more cash out of your business. Check us out at our next in-person event. We'll be at the Uniform Retailers Association trade show on October 5th to 8th in Oklahoma City. Come say hi and let us know what is your favorite tip about markdowns. Thank you for watching and happy retailing.